Greetings and good evening, and welcome to the RoundTable. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday, December the 12th, 2023. Bonsoir, comment ça va? My name is Drew, and I am one of the two co-hosts of this podcast, the most fire podcast of 2023 as we pertain to college football and the NFL. College football took a weekend off, except for the biggest game of all year long, the Army versus Navy game. Go Army, beat Navy. Job well done. We'll talk about that a little later. But man, was this not Separation Sunday in the NFL? A lot of big games, a lot of shocking surprises in those big games. Division leaders looking to make some shocking separation ended up getting tripped up. And maybe, just maybe, the lights might be a little bit too bright for a couple of teams, but we will definitely get into all of that. And I tell you, there is no one else in the world that I would love to talk about these particular topics than my man, Brother Griff. Mother, you are not in the dungeon. Where are we this fine evening, sir? You're on mute.
Hey, I ain't in the dungeon. I'm on a G14 classified mission, man. But I'm out here in sunny San Diego today, man. I got a workshop tomorrow, and so but I can't miss our show, man. Because if I do, I feel bad, especially with what took place this weekend and the conversation that me and you had on Friday.
Was there a particular conversation on Friday that I don't not recall? No, we will definitely get into that. And we transitioned Friday, as we mentioned Friday, in Friday's show, in our predictions from the regular season predictions to the playoff predictions, right? And then we invited the entire viewing audience, the entire RoundTable viewing audience, and I would like to thank every single one of you for joining us tonight on tonight's show as we engage in Week 14's shockers and the big game separators that we witnessed. And we're going to see who are the real big dogs of their divisions now, because every game not only counts, but it seems like every series is going to count. And we kind of did okay. We had a couple of those L's where we should have won, because both of those L's that we took, I believe, we predicted that the Houston Texans perhaps would have gone up to New York and taken care of the Jets, but Zachary Wilson showed up. Man, so much to discuss, but we'll get into that. How do you feel that you started off in the playoffs so far, man?
Hey, man, pretty good, man. Again, 7-2 is not bad, bro. And in my other fantasy football things that I do, I'm on top of the world. Just ask Troy. He down there now feeling some type of way because he just be making picks just to be making picks. I think he be throwing darts at his picks and whatever the dart hit. So I'm doing pretty good, man. I felt good about it. I wasn't expecting, like you said, what I saw with the Houston game, but defense, I tell you, defense win games, bro. And even though Zach Wilson, and we'll talk about it, but it was really the Jets defense that put that clamp hold on young Mr. Stroud and his team.
Yeah. So apparently there was a game that took place on Sunday night. That's what I've been told, right? And it involved a couple of teams that are trying to get to the playoffs. All eyes were glued on whatever streaming platform you're using if you're watching the game. In Jerry's world down there in Dallas, where you had the 9-3 Dallas Cowboys welcoming in their vaunted rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, who were 10-2 and the division leaders. But Philadelphia is coming off of a fresh L, a fresh beat down by the San Francisco 49ers last weekend. And Dallas is riding in on a 5-game high of, beating second tier, losing season type, teams. But you play the schedule that is in front of you. But they have been putting up 40 plus. The game that I expected versus the game that we saw. I want to spend a little bit of extra time talking about this game, right? And talk about this game in several different ways. Did you expect the beatdown? And I'm going to assume that you kind of did because you gave me a score spread like, wow, we should have bet you would have won.
I told you on Friday. I told you on Friday that we was gonna win by 21 points. That's what I told you. Unfortunately, we came up a point short, but I'm okay with that. I'm good with the 20-point game. I expected my defense to come out there and do what they did, and expected what Dak spreaded that ball. What I really liked was the fact that we ran the ball. We got Pollard involved on the outside. We got Dow running up the middle, man. Like I told you, that what I needed. And then I also had a Gallup showing, man. Gallup even showed up this past week, man. So hey, I told you 21. So I'm good. Yeah, I expected it.
Man, I'm a man of my word. So Fred, I hear you. I'm not going to try to scapegoat the Eagles and say they had another bad game. The Cowboys simply outperformed them. The Cowboys were the tougher team. The Cowboys were the better team. The Cowboys were the more prepared team. The Cowboys were the more confident team. The Cowboys were the more proficient team. The Cowboys were flat out Jerry's team on Sunday. But, and we'll talk about the but here in a minute. But I want to touch on why the Cowboys were so dominant in this game. And the defense.
Turnovers, 3 of them.
The turnovers that the Cowboys defense created were all critical because they all came while Philadelphia were in scoring position, right? A couple of them were inside the red zone. One of them was as they were getting ready to go into the red zone. And it wasn't just fumbleitis by the receiver or the running back. It was the defense created the turnover at the most opportune times. And those points that were taken off the board were the reason why the Cowboys were actually able to flourish a little bit on the run game. And your Gallup sighting, man, it gives you hope that he could actually make one of those big catches in late January, whether or not it's in Dallas or in Philly or in San Francisco, because that's what it's going to take for the Cowboys to outscore either one of those two teams. Again, now, let me ask you this question before we go on to the next phase of this particular conversation. Do you think the next time they play, because they're going to play again, is going to be the same type of result?
Yeah, I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cowboy fan, man. I'm just being honest. The first time we played them, let them off the hook. This time right here, we went out. It was no guessing on this one. And the next time we play them, should we have to play them, it's gonna be in the Cowboy Stadium. I promise you that. Because we will be the number one team in the East.
I am glad you said that, because the next part of the conversation is who has the better chance of actually winning the division. Looking at the Cowboys' remaining schedule and then looking at Philadelphia's remaining schedule. If both of you win out, both of you end up 14-3. Guess who wins the division? The Philadelphia Eagles. Even though right now you are leading the division because of you have a better division record because you've played more division games. So based on your schedule, and you still have a couple of tough games coming up.
Yeah.
Because you're not even favored in your next one. And looking at Philly's schedule, you still believe y'all going to be hosting a playoff game, or y'all going to be traveling as a wild card?
Drew, I say again, I believe we will be hosting a playoff game, and I also believe that we will be representing. I'm going to tell you right now, the Eagles got at least another loss in them. I'm just telling you this. I mean, you hear me say it right now. You can put the date down or whatever, and and guess who's gonna give them that L? It's gonna be the Giants. It's gonna be the Giants. The Giants they got to play the Giants twice.
Okay.
The Giants is about to give the Eagles an L, man. The Eagles, I don't know what it is, what's going on with the Eagles. That what we've been talking about with the Eagles, then it caught up with them. And they caught because they just been battling. I mean, they had you can't knock a team that got the record that they have, but like we said earlier in the season, at some point it's gonna catch up with you. And the Giants is actually got an uptick going on, and I think the Giants is gonna be that team. They ain't got nothing to lose, okay. and the Eagles just look disconnected to me right now.
Okay. Now, you remember last week after they took that L, I came on here and I said RELAX, right? Romeo Echo Lima Alpha X-ray. Relax, chill. It's just one L. They played against a team that just so happened to be better than them, that were more rested than them after playing a gauntlet of a schedule themselves. Guess what? It's the same thing this week. And you're placing a lot of confidence in the young Giants after they've gotten 3 quick victories with the young Tommy DeVito, kudos to him and the Giants. But come on, man,
bro, I'm just gonna tell you, man.
These hold up. We everybody is saying that Philly should just pack it in.
No,
they played 2 of the best teams in the National Football League in the past 2 weeks. They lost both games. That lets them know that they are not the Super Bowl favorite in the conference. That lets them know they have work they need to do. That lets them know that their defense is trash, just like the Pittsburgh offense is trash. And if they don't fix that in the next month, they won't be able to challenge either Dallas or San Francisco to make it to the Super Bowl. But let's not forget, these are still the Philadelphia Eagles, who have won 10 games this year. Not against trash teams, against playoff teams. Same teams that you getting ready to play, Philly has already played and beat. So let's see how you perform, and
Drew,
let's revisit this back in about 3 weeks.
I'm loving the way you got these pom-poms for the Eagles right now. You sound like they number one fan. I thought you was a Saints fan, but now I see that hey, you making an excuse. You just like everybody else. Again, you started off the conversation. Hear me out. You started off the conversation with, hey, you play the schedule that you play. But then you come on the back end and then you say, well, you know, they had this gauntlet, and all this other. I can't accept that excuse, man. Again, we play the schedules that we play. And you can talk about, I heard one commentator say that the Cowboys been playing tomato cans off the shelf in the grocery store. But it's all good. I love it. You know what? Hey, what's that song say? It's all right. It's all right when they do it, but you got a problem when we do it. But it's okay because you know what? The Eagles got a trash schedule getting ready to come up, and watch and see. They're gonna take an L just like we took an L during our trash schedule.
Man, even after a W, y'all still pissed off.
Because again, man, people won't let us live, man. Even when we win, it's excuses. Even when we win, man, it's an excuse why the Cowboys won, man. But the Eagles catch that L. There ain't no excuses when the Eagles. We gonna feel. So I ain't having no pity party. I ain't, because they all in.
Tell you what, no pity party for the Eagles. No pity party for the Cowboys. You get what you get. You earn what you earn. So we will see over the next few weeks how the Cowboys perform on the backs of what their division rivals just did, which leads us perfectly into the segue of the next game, because the next game talks about your next opponent.
Yep.
The Bills traveled down to Kansas City, man, to Arrowhead, take on Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champs. We knew that this was going to be an exciting game. This was going to be a lower scoring game than we have traditionally come to see. Because of the weapons that are no longer there and the type of defenses that are available for both teams. But did this game in a frenzy, man? I'm going to let you talk about how this game ended, but all I want to say about the NFL officiating before I turn it over to you to talk about the game. All I want to say about the NFL officiating, it is that My man Patrick Mahomes got on to an NFL podium after the game and said he was only offside by a little bit. And they should not have called the penalty because he was only offside by a little bit. Like, wow, that is where we are in the NFL officiating discussion, where you get punished for doing your job when you finally do it right, and or you get punished when you completely jack it up. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. This time they definitely got it right. I mean, I don't know how my man didn't see he was offside, but I'll turn it over to you to talk about the game.
Drew, I mean, I'm gonna say this. I know. I think I've been playing organized sports since I was 7 years old. Every time you step up to the line, one of the things I was always taught to look over to the referee to make sure that I ain't offside. I get that thumbs up. They'll even tell you back and forth with them. What I will say is I don't have no sympathy for Patty Mahomes or the Chiefs because, but believe it or not, they probably would have more L's than they have right now if it wasn't for the referees. The referees really been helping the Chiefs out all year. And so the one time that I guess the payment didn't go through, they didn't get their VMO or they cash out, they upset. The dude was clearly out. Man, I mean, the play was awesome. I mean, I did not see that play coming, man. When Kelsey threw that ball back there, and then the irony of it all is he threw the ball. The person that got the touchdown was a joker that was outside. That is funny as hell, man. But Patrick Mahomes came out today and apologized after his meltdown. See, it's always good when you win it. Everything is cool, but then you really start to see the character of a person when they get a little adversity that came their way. The Chiefs just don't have that foul on offense, man. They don't have that foul on the offense. To believe it or not, the Chiefs shouldn't even been in the game. The Bills almost gained this game away because if you go back and look at the end of that game, man, the offensive play call selection was awful. I mean, they could have easily. The Chiefs had already lost a timeout for a challenge, so they only had 2 timeouts left. All the Bills had to do is run the ball. They threw 3 passes and gave them jokers enough time to even sit up there and put something together when they should have only had seconds left on the clock if they would have got the ball back. And so I think that's what be making NFL fans think some stuff be scripted too. Because ain't no way. I mean, hell, I would have ran that ball, bro. They would have used them last 2 timeouts.
You think what?
Man,
yo, there is so much to talk about this game, man. And I'll start with the Chiefs offense. This has got to be the worst season that Patrick Mahomes could have ever imagined, that none of his receivers other than Travis Kelce can catch the ball. I mean, how many times do you need to get the ball thrown directly to you and hit you in your hands on a short pass, medium pass, or deep pass, and you drop it in key moments of the game? And I understand that Mr. Tony is a seasoned veteran. He helped them to get that Super Bowl championship last year, but man, you have cost them at least 2 to 3 victories this year, as you mentioned, Griff. That you said they're lucky to be 8-5. Yes, they could be 10-3 if not for the receivers. They could be possibly 11-2 if not for the receivers. The defense is making enough plays to keep them in the game. It is just that the offense is unable to separate themselves and make those key receptions in those key moments. He and Kelce can only do so much, as they would say, because Kelce is getting double and triple teams at times, and leaving other players one-on-one. And they are just not able to take advantage of it, man. So I look at the other side of the ball and a team in the Buffalo Bills who are literally still fighting for their playoff life. They're 7-6. They had to go into Kansas City. They were slightly favored to win. They did take care of business. No matter how the game ended, they took care of business and won that game. They're coming back home. They're welcoming in another playoff team. And guess what? They're still favored. They're 7-6. What does that say about how good is Buffalo right now this year?
what I'll say is this, man. One, the Cowboys ain't gonna never get no respect from nobody because everybody hate the Cowboys. I'm just
I didn't
keeping it
say
real.
anything
I
about
mean,
the
again,
Cowboys, man. I didn't
but,
say anything about the. I'm
because you
talking about the
can
Buffalo offense,
can
sir.
can I please finish my thought process, please? Can I get, because if you allow me to bring you home, I'm finna bring you home because you said
Okay.
something about us being the under. You said that they are favored to win this week. Who they playing this week?
The
The
Cowboys.
Cowboys. Now,
Mhm.
some of it is self-inflicted on us because again, yeah, we undefeated at home, but we 500 on the road. But again, look at all the other teams in the league and see how they play on the road. It normally pans out the same exact way. Every now and then you might have one team that win more games on the road than at home, but it goes around everywhere. But that's we get that hit up. Now I ain't taking nothing away from the Bills and they win this weekend. But again, I looked at that Bills team, Diggs. I already know my team can bring way more pressure than what the Chiefs brought this week. They offense don't have an identity. Diggs was not involved in this offense this week. I mean, I had Gabe Davis on one of my fantasy football team. He wasn't on the injury report. That joker didn't have one catch, bro. It's problems on that sideline. I mean, yeah, they got up for this Chiefs game because you know it's a history between them two. But I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't put my money on the Bills. I wouldn't. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And if you want to put your money on the Bills, you go ahead.
I get you. I get you. And I know I'm late. I'm still going through some of the comments in the chat. And honestly, a comment that Troy made here in the chat jogged my memory about a comment he made Sunday about that first touchdown. Or those first couple of scores that the Cowboys has. Like every time y'all score, a flag just automatically gets thrown and then it gets picked up after y'all score. I'm like, come on, man. Where is it at? It's looking a little fishy, but that was just, a little inside joke between the three of us.
It's cool. Like I said again, it's cool. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when we do it. All I'm saying is our game ain't the only game this weekend where they pick flags up.
Really?
It was several other games flags was picked up this weekend. Matter of fact, last week too. The Chiefs didn't have flags picked up.
But we know that the Chiefs are the darlings of assistants as it pertains to NFL officiating and them, stuff in the pockets. But man, enough about the Chiefs and the Bills. That Cowboys Bills game this weekend, that's another big game that is gonna take up a lot of airspace, unfortunately, on Friday night, Troy. So make sure that you bring your popcorn bright and early. Moving on to the next big game of the weekend, man. The Rams traveling all the way from the left coast all the way to M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore to take on the 9-3 Baltimore Ravens and my second leading candidate for the MVP this year, Lamar Jackson. Were you surprised that the Rams were competitive offensively against what was supposed to be the top defense in the NFL, and were able to hang 31 on them before all of the, hoopla that way that the game ended in overtime? So let's start with that Ravens defense and the Rams offense and whether or not the Rams still have a shot to make it to the playoffs. What do you think?
Well, the Rams been on the uptick here the last couple of weeks, man. You go back and look at their record the last couple of weeks. They had a record where they won 3-4 in a row, man. And it's, they starting to gel again. Cooper Kupp was involved in the game, which it's been a Cooper Kupp. Because what's the guy that Puka Nakua or whatever that kid name? That's who like Stafford was gelling with.
Right.
And when Cooper Kupp came back in, it seemed like it disrupted the offense. But now they starting to connect, man. The problem with the Rams really is that their defense has been the dominant as it has been. The Ravens, though, man, again, I know you say Lamar Jackson is one of those guys for the MVP race, man, but the Ravens been another team that's just been getting by here lately, and they need these last-minute heroics like that walk-off punt return in overtime to win the game. So
now you're absolutely
go ahead.
You're absolutely correct, man. And I was just about to dig into Fred's butt, right, for accusing me to be an undercover Cowboys fan, talking about show's version of Stephen A. Smith. But I was just about to dig into him. Now I'm about to make a Cowboys point. The Ravens are just like the Cowboys in the sense to where they play to the level of their opponent. They either can outperform you because you're a very good team and just be dominant, or they can just let whoever they're playing against stay in the game. I got it. The Rams have been on the uptick for the past several weeks, but this is the number one defense in the NFL. We are supposed to dominate. It's time for us to make a statement. It's time for us to cement our claim to be the number one team in the AFC and let everybody know that the Super Bowl goes through Baltimore. They are still letting teams that they should beat and beat legitimately hang around forever and a day. So that's why you can't trust the Ravens. And I say that Lamar is my second leading favorite for MVP. It's because my guy down there in Dallas, I'm not a secret fan, but I'm just saying, Rain Dakota Prescott is the leading candidate for the MVP right now. So that will be my top two. And I know we're going to talk about the MVP race at some point here in the next couple of weeks. But that's where I am currently sitting. I don't have a top five list. It is just 1 and 2. And we can have that Tyreek discussion at a later time. But you said the Ravens need heroics like they did in overtime. Look at it this way. We can score from any one of the three phases of the game. We know Justin Tucker is automatic. So the kicking game, I don't care if it's 60 yards, just like Dallas has a new kicker who can apparently kick from 89 yards.
That joker, that ball still had another 10, 20
Where
yards.
Where did y'all find him at?
From the USFL? He was in the USFL last year, man.
Like, wow.
And the kid played soccer. He was a soccer player at Notre Dame.
Kicking with speed. All right, man. Enough about these high powered teams that are all sitting at the top of the NFL, but we know in the blink of an eye, everything can change. Moving on to the next big game of the weekend, where it kind of turned out the way that we expected it to turn out. A very tough, hard-nosed Seattle team fighting for their playoff lives. Just so happened to go up against their division rival, their division leading rival, the best team in the NFL in many people's eyes, the San Francisco 49ers at San Francisco. And basically San Francisco did what San Francisco was going to do. Were you surprised?
Hey, let me tell you why. First of all, I want you to apologize to Brock Purdy. That's what I want you to do. Because you said Brock Purdy was the dink and dunk dude. That joke was throwing that ball down the field this week. Matter of fact, if we had the ability, now I need to go get the video and show it to you. Hell, Debo even said it. He said, man, that boy was letting that thing go. When I looked at that game, man, I seen Brock Purdy throwing, I think he threw like 4 or 5 balls down the field, bro, 20 yards or more. And I mean, so it wasn't just the little short dink and dunks that you was giving Brock. He must have seen our show and heard you talking about him. He said, you know what, I'm gonna prove Drew wrong. I didn't see the Seahawks coming in there because they wounded with Geno being hurt, and they had to play with Drew Lock, and you know the problems that's going on. You seen the tension over there. You see Metcalf get thrown out of the game. But you know the 49ers has been the team, that dominant team. You're right, and I'm not afraid to admit they the number one team in the league, and they came in there and played like they was number one team in the league, just like they did against the Cowboys, just like they did against the Eagles. But like you also said, they need to stay healthy. Because if something happened to Debo or something happened to Christian McCaffrey, it's a wrap. Now, but I want to make a point that he just went dinking and dunking this week. That's all I want to say. He was throwing that ball down the field this week, and you owe him an apology.
Well, I thank you for affording me that opportunity, sir. And here's what I have to say. So here's what I have to retort. I have never, in my entire time while speaking on Brock Purdy as it pertains to his in a young, short, but successful NFL career, that said that he was not a good quarterback, said that he was a system quarterback to the point to where he managed the team by doing dinks and dunks. I know Brock Purdy can pass the ball. All I have been saying for the past few weeks is that Brock Purdy is not the leading candidate to be this year's NFL MVP.
Drew,
I have said repeatedly that he is the best quarterback for that system that system have ever seen. Now, with that being said, they did what they were supposed to do. Now, I thank you for coming over to my side and recognizing that they are one ankle tweak away from Debo. I don't care about anybody else getting hurt. Debo get hurt, that team is no longer a 10-point favorite in any game that they play. They are, we going to see how we match up favorite in every game that they play, because Debo is that 10-point separator in every single matchup, first and foremost. So, unfortunately, this was it for Seattle. I won't say this was it for Seattle, because it seems like there are 10, 6, and 7 teams in the NFC, so they still have a shot. And we'll see how all of that unfolds over the next few weeks.
I got to make sure that I go give Jordan my snippets, because I ain't been doing that, because I'm gonna have to show you where you did. I ain't say that you didn't say he wasn't a good quarterback, but the dinking and the dunking and stuff, boy, you not only did you put emphasis on them, you put emphasis on them.
This past week, yes, all he did was throw 5-yard passes against Philadelphia, and Debo took him 60 yards. Of course, he was dinking and dunking.
I'm gonna say again, you can't be mad at the man for him taking what's there. Your squad, we had this conversation last week. Your squad, I guarantee you would take them. You wish Carr threw some 5-yard dinks and dunks and they turned them into whatever, but they struggle with the Panthers. But that's a whole nother story. We'll get to that at the end. Let's go. Hey, big shout out to everybody too, man. Hey, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Big shout out to everybody logging on as always, man. We appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all continue to share and like the page. Let people know that we on here so they can come on here and have some of this fun too. I'm looking at the comments like Drew said, man, and y'all lighting it up as always down there. So I appreciate y'all being here.
Yes, sir. Just talking about I can't help myself, Troy. I'm telling the truth, brother. Stop hating, because trust me, we got something to talk about in just a few minutes about you.
Troy don't want to stand on business at the end. He ain't gonna stand on business.
You might want to log off a little early, Troy. No, but man, moving on to the next big game of the weekend. The 8-4 Jags traveled up to the 7-4 or 7-5 Cleveland Browns. Both teams were somewhat hobbled, but man, Trevor Lawrence was like, I'm going to push it. We're going to take care of business, because we got some people in our rear view in the form of Indianapolis and Houston, and both of them are coming, because both of them are very good teams. Were you not surprised, because we both picked Cleveland to win this game?
Yeah.
But were you surprised as to how the old guy that we both talked about, Mr. Flacco, has kind of taken, control of that offense and just let it rip?
Man, look, first of all, the reason why I picked the Browns, because I didn't think Trevor Lawrence was playing. And then they put him in there at the last minute, and I was like, wow. But, Trevor still played Trevor. But, yeah, Flacco took advantage of what the defense gave him, man. He lit them jokers up. I got the tight end for the Browns. I got that joker sitting on the bench in one of my fantasy football teams, because they ain't really been doing that, man. But that dude lit them up, man. So Flacco been around for a while. I give him, the old man this, and he ain't. But hey, he took what they gave him and he did what he had to do. And then on top of that, the Browns defense did what they had to do to solidify that win. This score right here does not really show. That game wasn't as close as this score make it out to be. The Browns basically had control of this game, because they had Trevor Lawrence running around like a chicken with his head cut off. You can see that they really hurting without Kirk being there. I still don't see no continuity between him and Ridley, and they really weren't able to establish the running game in this one.
Man, yeah. Look at it from both sides of the perspective. Taking a look at the Duval County Jacksonville Jaguars first. They are crumbling, right? Doug Peterson and that early season success has faltered a little bit. Well, just like everyone has said, you're one injury away. And Trevor Lawrence took a slight bump in the road last week and came back and was able to perform. So obviously, he's going to be able to play this week against Baltimore when they play the Ravens. But their division hopes or division champs hopes are on the line now because both the Colts, though they lost this weekend, and the Texans, even though they blew a game they were supposed to win this weekend, both of them lost. All three teams lost, so they are still separated by one game. So the Jaguars have no room for error over the next calendar month. So they need to make sure that they are playing on all cylinders. Now, looking at it at the Browns, man, they are playing in the toughest division in football still.
Yeah.
Even with a trash offense in Pittsburgh, it is still the toughest division because all four teams are still above 500. And you have the best team in the AFC atop of the division. And they are still 8-5, and they have no quarterback continuity. What does that say about how good the Browns can actually be when they show up?
Man, I keep telling people, man, defense win games, man. If you got a good defense, and if you can just get those people, like I said, like, Flacco they already named him the starter for the rest of the season, unless he get hurt. I think that it might be scary here on this back end in that division, especially if the Ravens slip. That's all I can tell you on that one.
Well, the scheduling gods always make sure that all four teams play each other the last 2 weeks of the year. So look for Baltimore to play Pittsburgh. Look for Baltimore to play Cleveland and or Cincinnati the last 2 weeks, and vice versa for each one of those four teams. So it's definitely going to be this who is able to beat who in the last 2 weeks and who is the healthiest to not only be able to lock up the division, but to make it to the playoff as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, but I'm still riding with those Ravens and leading and winning the division. But, man, the Browns are impressive.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to another AFC North team that, you picked to win. I picked the Colts to win. This was one of my L's this weekend because I thought the Colts was going to travel to my Cincinnati Bengals area. And Brownie wasn't going to be able to repeat what he did last week. Well, guess what? Man, you're in Cincinnati Bengals, the scariest 7-6 team in the history of the NFL. You remember that?
Yeah.
They might have a little bit of life left in them, man. What about them Bengals?
That thing didn't age well, man. Hey,
It did not.
I picked them specifically because of Browning, and then he get hurt with a hand injury, and then AJ McCarron had to come in, man. But I can't count on Minshew over there on the other side, man. Because if anybody can give a game away, it's him. And plus, I knew Taylor wasn't playing either. So the Bengals, they still, Browning was in there long enough to where he could do his damage. And AJ McCarron already know the system, and the Bengals defense did what they had to do, man. So, yeah, I was expecting to win. I just didn't expect them to win this big.
So the Bengals are 7-6. Right. And it's more of a conversation about the Bengals than it is about the Colts. They're 7-6. They're at the bottom of their division. Do you see them even having a shot? And I asked this question for a specific reason. They are 7-6. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember me asking this question later on in the show. They are 7-6. Do you think at the bottom of their division at 7-6, with Pittsburgh at 7-6, Cleveland at 8-5, and then Baltimore at 10-3, and then all of the rest of the AFC, you think that 7-6 team got a shot to make it to the playoffs?
I think they do.
Really?
Because as I look at the schedule, the Steelers got to play the Broncos, who's starting to stream up as well. The Browns got them an easy win against the Saints.
Oh, an easy win. An easy win. Okay.
I'm just looking at the schedule, man. And then not only do the Browns, well, I take that back. Then the Bengals come right in after the Browns and play the Saints.
Damn.
Okay. Man, y'all about to catch hell, man. And the Browns, definitely the Browns. Hey, shucks, man, it's scary, man, because the Browns, as I look at the Browns schedule, man, and look at the Bengals schedule, anything is possible in the league, man, but I think it's going to be a hard road. It's going to be a hard journey for the Bengals, especially if, depending on their quarterback situation, because they on their third quarterback right now. I think Browning dislocated his finger. I don't know if you know how bad it was, but I know it was bad enough for him not to come back into the game. He looked like Burrows over there after it happened, and I seen him when he fell on his hand. So it's a possibility, but man, looking at that schedule, it's gonna be a rough road.
See, this is where the football gods align things up, and when it leads to one point of discussion, like you just said, and how they are operating on their third string quarterback now, and how that could hurt their playoff chances, leads to that perfect follow-up question. Well, they are 7-6. The Indianapolis Colts are 7-6 with a backup quarterback. The Texans are going to be. The Texans are 7-6. They have a backup quarterback playing because their quarterback, their rookie of the year, is in concussion protocol. Which 7-6 team is better equipped with a backup quarterback or a third string quarterback to still make a playoff push if that backup quarterback has to play for multiple weeks?
The Browns. And I give it to the Browns because of the defense. The Houston Texans defense is okay, but it's still got some holes in it. The Bengals defense is okay, but they got holes in it. The Steelers, their offense is gonna keep them from progressing. I don't care what nobody say, because when the offense is not doing enough, it affects the defense, and I think that's the problem with the Steelers right now. But if you had to ask me today, I would give it to the Browns.
Browns over the Texans without C.J. Stroud.
I'm gonna be honest with C.J. Stroud. C.J. having a good year, but I don't watch the games. I'm gonna tell you right now. I think by the end of the season, we're gonna be looking at the Texans like we looked at Colorado Buffaloes. They won't be in the conversation.
What? You think they're gonna falter like that? Well, we're about to see, because guess what? We're about to talk about those Texans right now. They went up there to talk about and played those Jets, who couldn't spell victory over the past month. But like we said, good old Zach Wilson reincarnated his young career and decided to play free football like we mentioned early in the season. If he played free and just let it ride, he could actually be a legitimate good backup quarterback. And he showed that this past weekend. What happened to the Texans, man?
If it's one thing we know about the Jets all year, it ain't had nothing. They have a great defense. And that defense put that heat. They put that heat on the Texans, man. Plus, the Texans don't have they don't have Tank Dell. Tank Dell is gone for the season. That was his primary receiver. I think Nico Collins is hurt. So again, we at this part of the season where a lot of injuries are affecting. But the Jets defense, man, the Jet defense, they applied a lot of pressure, so much pressure that you see Stroud ended up leaving the game with a concussion after he got hit by an Alabama player who has apologized and said he had no intentions on trying to hurt him or whatever. But it is what it is. That's what them Alabama boys do. They just talk to kill. But it was that defense, man. I ain't trying to take nothing from Zach Wilson, man. I'm happy that Zach back in there again. It just it goes to show just how bad their quarterback room was and how they spent all that money on Aaron Rodgers that they didn't have them, because they didn't try two other quarterbacks that came in there because I just knew Zach Wilson was done for the year. But that game was won right there because of the defense. The Jets defense and the Texas offense couldn't get nothing going. And when your defense can stay, and when the defense happy, they make stuff happen. And so Zach Wilson scored all those points actually in the fourth. It was at the end of the game. It wasn't in the beginning of the game either.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. One correction: Aaron Rodgers deferred a lot of his paycheck, so we can't blame that balloon quarterback salary on him. He took like a huge 50% pay cut this year.
I'm just saying that this is what I'm saying. I'm saying they put all their ducks on him, and they didn't have they didn't have what I say a quality quarterback room in case something happened to him, because they weren't expecting him to be gone after 2 plays in the beginning of the season.
Right. Yeah, I'm more disappointed in the Texans than the Jets defense actually showing up and doing their job and shutting an opponent down. I'm disappointed that the Houston Texans didn't even have an impact on offense, even after CJ Stroud went down. So, you said they're going to fizzle out. I think they still got hope. If CJ Stroud can come back from concussion protocol and clear protocol this week before their next game and doesn't have any ill effects, then maybe they can still make a playoff run. If not, we'll see. Moving on. Man, is Russ cooking? Is that rookie head coach up there in Mile High actually coming in with a
it ain't Russ, man.
What's going on up there in Denver, man?
Denver defense. That again, I mean, you'd have heard me. That's been the theme all night. It ain't been. If you go look at Russ numbers ain't been that great. It's been the defense. It's been the defense, man. Ever since they got embarrassed by Miami, they done made some adjustments, man, and that defense been cooking, bro. And it didn't help that Herbert left. Herbert got hurt in this game, and Herbert got hurt, and so that defense has been cooking, man, up there in Denver. That's been the difference up there. And I'm surprised the Chargers coach still have a job, bro. I mean, we've been talking about that. But all the people you've been talking about getting fired all season, this joker still got a job too, along with your coach.
Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, that Griff is the first person to introduce firing tonight, not me. Although I do second that motion that Brandon Staley should be fired, should have been fired yesterday, should have been fired last week, should have been fired last month, should have been fired last year, along with my head coach, Mr. Dennis Allen and Mr. Pete Carmichael. So that's my Saints get rid of them plug for the night. Man, you're right. It is the defense, right? Allowing only 16 points a game since being drugged by the Dolphins, only ranked second in the league. That means that they are a top 10 defense in the pass. They are a top 5 defense in the run. They are a top 4 defense in scoring defense. So that makes them a top 6 at least, if not a top 3 defense overall. So Russ has not actually been carrying this team. Sean Payton has not actually been manipulating the offensive scheme to create plays to make sure that we are managing the clock and keeping the opposing team's offense off the field. No, it is that defense and that defensive coordinator that we were dragging early in the year, talking about him getting fired.
Yeah.
That have actually shut the rest of the league down. And people are starting to get concerned that the AFC champs, the Super Bowl champs, could actually get caught by the Denver Broncos. They're only one game back. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that if in week 18, Denver and Kansas City end up playing for the division championship against whoever they're playing against, it would be great if they were playing against each other. But I don't know. I haven't looked at that schedule. So, man, that'd be awesome. Look out for Denver.
So let me see. I tell you right here, I know Denver has still got the Vikings, who's struggling. They got the Jaguars.
Toss up.
Oh, they played. Matter of fact, they played the Vikings twice.
They played the Vikings twice?
Yeah, they got. Let me look. I'm looking on here. I looked at that wrong. Hold up. No, not the Broncos. Broncos played the Vikings on the 31st. What's their next one?
Man,
and then they got the Broncos. They got the Bears. Well, they got the Vikings and the Bears, and they have
Who's their last game against?
their last game. Man, I got these glasses on. I'm starting to think I can't see with them on or with them on. Hold on. The Vikings on the 31st.
It should be in January, man. Like January 8th.
I'm scrolling down, man. I'm scrolling, man. You know, I'm new with these glasses, man. I'm still trying to figure them out, man. All right, so they play the Jaguars is their last game.
Oh, that's gonna be a great game, man. So that'll be for somebody's playoff hopes, whether the Jags will be to lock up their division title, or if by that point Houston has caught them or the Colts have caught them. That could be for a wild card. You just never know. And the same for the Broncos if they keep winning. Surprise, surprise, surprise of the night. Monday Night Football, the Titans that nobody in the world picked. So I knew that was an L for me, because I definitely went with the 305 down there in Miami and picked them to outscore the Tennessee Titans. But, man, how can you blow a 2-point or 14-point lead with 2 minutes left? That's like getting fired on your day off. How can you do that?
When you in the end zone dancing and stuff like you know already won. I mean, man, that I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm so sick of this daggone tomfoolery. I was sitting up there.
You said tomfoolery.
I call it tomfoolery, bro. When I was flying in today, I was looking at hard knocks with Miami. You know, these jokers sitting up here practicing these touchdown celebrations and stuff in the end zone on there. You know, I'm just, maybe I'm from the old school or whatever, man, but the game ain't over until it's over, and that's why them jokers lost. You know, they sitting up around here doing all that damn dancing and all that bull crap in the end zone, and I'm happy for the Titans, man, because I picked Miami too, man. I just knew that, but you know what the change was when the cheetah got hurt in the beginning of the game, man. You couldn't hear nobody talking up in that stadium. Boy, them jokers got quiet as church mouses up in there. But I just all this celebrating and stuff, man. It drives me crazy, and that's what happened to them jokers. You know, cockiness will get you, bro.
Yeah. I'll touch on the cockiness and why it cost them the game at the end in a minute. But you brought up a very good point about Tyreek Hill's injury early in the first half and how that affected the Miami offense. We've heard about MVP conversations. We've heard about possible people being on MVP lists, right? And Tyreek being on an MVP list, or even Tua being on an MVP list. You see how critical it is for a team with all of that speed if one player like Tyreek gets pulled.
It throws everything off.
Same thing about Debo in San Francisco. That is how critical those two of many big pieces that each one of those two teams have, both on offense and on defense, that if that one critical piece gets just, everything changes. And the Dolphins are just not as dependable as I would like for them to be, to really be considered as number one or number two or even number three in the entire AFC, because as Tyreek goes, so goes the Dolphins. And Tyreek is moving at 20 plus miles per hour, which increases the probability of you tweaking an ankle, you twisting an ankle, you getting clipped, you getting tripped, you getting whatever. So, man,
that was a missed call.
A game they were supposed to win.
That was a missed call. I mean, honestly, man, I think they got screwed on when Tyreek got hurt too, man, because that was a horse collar. That's how he got hurt. When old boy tackled him, man, it was definitely a missed call by the referees.
All right, man. I would love to give this game a little bit more, love, but we only got like 6-7 minutes.
Come on, man. Let's get to the end, because somebody put a question.
To give this game all of the time in the world, because, ladies and gentlemen, we saw two teams that are collectively paying people $400 million plus dollars. $400 million just this year. That's just, just to show up. That's not talking about all of the people that work in the stadium, supporting the stadiums, the medical staff, the marketing, all of that.
Drum roll, please.
People actually paid to go to this game this weekend.
Drum roll.
And what they got was the Minnesota Vikings and the Las Vegas Raiders.
I call it the Pun Olympics. They got the Pun Olympics.
Man, I looked up at the stats and I saw punt, fumble, trump, punt, fumble, interception, punt, fumble, interception, half. Punt, fumble, half. Punt, fumble, interception. I was like, what the world? Is Troy quarterbacking today? What's going on? Troy, man, I know you done logged off, but hey, I'm not mad at you. I would log off too because you knew we was going to talk about those Raiders. How can you put up 0 points, man? That's even worse than the New England Patriots coming back against the Atlanta Falcons 28-3.
But you can expect that with them Falcons. With them Falcons, they only good for 3 quarters. We know that.
We ain't supposed to be talking about the Falcons. Man, what happened to those Raiders, man? They look like trash, just like the rest of us. Trash AFC West teams yesterday or this past weekend. And Minnesota, you don't get off the hook. 3 points, really? Come on.
It was an old school NFL defensive struggle, man. That's what it was, man. That's what this game came down to, and it came down to the Vikings saying, "Okay, enough is enough. The Josh Dobbs story is over. Let's put Nick Mullins in here and at least get in field goal range." And so much so they didn't name Nick Mullins as the starter for the rest of the season, at least for the rest of the season. That's crazy.
Man, this game was terrible, and I just wanted to get it in to talk about Troy.
Please.
But let's move on to wrap up before we wrap up the show and talk about your top 5 NFL teams after week 14. Let's see if I can just say, okay, good answer, or I can disagree and say, man, what are you talking about? What we got?
Okay, so my top 5, as I said before, I had the 49ers as number 1. That's a no-brainer. Everybody got it. The Ravens is the number 1 team in the AFC, so I got them number 2. I got the Cowboys as 3, and even though the Eagles lost to the Cowboys, I still got them at 4 with the Bills at 5. But after this weekend, that's definitely because of especially on the AFC side of the ball. But that's my top 5, week 14.
And I can understand why you have that top 5, and I'm not mad at that top 5. I definitely agree with number 1, definitely agree with number 2. I definitely agree with number 3, and I do agree with number 4. I just disagree with number 5. Even though Miami blew a 14-point lead in 2 minutes, I still, because of their cockiness, because of their immaturity, because of their inattentiveness on defense and played so soft that they just allowed Will Levis and that offense to just walk right down the field and then give you the ball back with still 2 minutes left and you unable to go down and make a play like you were supposed to do because you are the better team and you are at home. You had all of the time in the world. You were just unable to close the door. I still got them in the top 5, but I understand why Buffalo is in your top 5, but Miami still has a 2-game cushion on them in their division. Yeah. But I'm not mad at that, man.
Okay.
And so we still got some big games this weekend. We're gonna see how that pan out. So like they say, it may or may not shift a lot next week, but I'm not mad at this list. But Miami and the Bills are teetering at 5 and 6 for me too.
Okay. I know we got to do this. We're finna wrap it up. I just want Darren to know that the Saints is not number 6.
They could be 16 or 26, but they're
not my number 16.
Number 6. It don't matter. That's all right. They did win against a suffering succotash 1-12 team this weekend, so they get 0 props. They still suck. Fire Dennis Allen, fire Pete Carmichael. I want to give a quick and heartfelt, well, not heartfelt, but a big shout out to the Heisman Trophy winner for the 2023 season, the starting quarterback for the Louisiana State University Fighting Tigers, Jaden Daniels, who had the best season this year. I understand that he was not a 12-0 or a 13-0 team leading quarterback like his second place finisher, Michael Penix Jr. but undoubtedly he was the best quarterback, the best football player, the best showstopper, the best closer, the best dependable or the most dependable quarterback that you could have placed on any team this year. So I congratulate him. I congratulate the LSU Tigers, even though that it was a disappointing season because they did not finish where they were supposed to. Congratulations to the Washington Huskies on a successful and undefeated season for them and their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. Congratulations to him on coming in second in the Heisman. And I wish them both successful careers in the NFL and wherever they go. And obviously, they will still have a fan base that will follow them throughout their career. Before we log off, man, one big college football game this weekend. It was the game of all games between the two of the three military naval or academies, service academies, Army against Navy, and the gold stand of all gold line stands in recent history. The Army Black Knights took care of the Navy midshipmen like we usually do, ending this year's game in a 17-11 bludgeon battle for the President's Cup. Go Army, beat Navy again. I say, whoa.
Oh,
What do you
man.
think, man?
Hey man, all I can say is go on, man. I sat and I watched that game, man. I thought I was looking at a Pop Warner 5 or 6 year old teams playing, man. 'Cause, I mean, all they do is run, man. Run left, triple option right. It is no complexity whatsoever. And I know we got to get off here. I don't know if you see my comment because the Army almost gave that game away as well at the end of the game. And I said the coach needed a 48-56.
Yeah.
And then a few people said they needed do
Article 15.
Article 15 or even conduct the 15-6 on the man because it was like, I mean, wow. We played soft at the end and allowed us to get in this position right here, what you see on the screen right now.
Yeah. But at this point, it's less about what you actually see, even though we love to see a quality product because that is what we expect and that is what we demand from our young future leaders of each one of those services. On the football field, it's not necessarily about the quality of play. It is about the commitment that each one of those young men have made and all of those people who are in those stadiums on that particular day in service of this nation. But yeah, man, you like to see more than a little bit Pop Warner left, right, triple option underneath the left tackle. Let's go on Hut. You know what I'm saying?
Student body left, student body right, man. That's all I see, but it is. But go, hey, congratulations.
Yeah, man. All right, man. Before we log off, you got anything you'd like to share with our fellow family members on
again?
And Troy, what word are you talking about? Inattentiveness.
Some word he said that you made up, man. Troy be falling out.
Inattentiveness is a word. Look it up in the dictionary, there, young man.
Why are you arguing with Troy, man? Why are you not arguing? Why are you debating with him, man? Don't debate with Troy. He a Raiders fan. You can't debate with. And Troy is from South Carolina, so and he a Raiders fan. So don't debate with Troy, man. But look, man, as always, man, I just want to say thank you all again for sitting up here and just hanging out with me and Drew for about an hour or so, entertaining us as we giving our opinions on what we think. And all this is opinions, as we know every week stuff changes, but we do thank y'all. I thank y'all for the commentary. I look at the comments. I try to make sure if I don't do nothing but like everything that somebody or say, I try to come back and make a comment. And I look forward to seeing y'all all here on Friday, man, so we can go and make them picks for this upcoming football weekend. I turn it over to you, Drew.
Yes, sir. I echo all of your comments and your sentiments. And every weekend at this point is the biggest weekend in the NFL schedule, no matter who you're playing, whether or not you're playing a playoff caliber team or whether or not you're playing the Arizona Cardinals or the New England Patriots, who just so happen to be 3-10, or the Chicago Bears, because we all see what can happen on any given Sunday. That's what makes the game so exciting when it is actually being played in its purest form. NFL officials, So let's ensure that you know these games are critical at this point, and we obviously see based on what we saw in Kansas City that every play counts because what Travis Kelce did in real time was not scripted. This could possibly have gone down into into NFL history as one of the best plays to ever happen, but will not be because his toe was just a little bit offside. It was just a little bit offside.
That joker
But
was a
that's why
yard.
you
He
said
was a yard off, man. That joker was over there on the defense.
and no, that's what it was. That's why we say it's a game of interest, man. We keep making that reference. It's a game of interest, and those opportunities are right there, as Al Pacino said, every single play at any given moment. That's why you play the game. The movie literally gave you a behind-the-scenes script into why every play is important in NFL. But let me get off of my soapbox. Thank you all for joining us on this recap of Week 14. We look forward to you all joining us on Friday night as we go into Week 15's predictions and see whether or not Griff or myself can create some playoff separation in our predictions and not be tied up after next weekend's games. And we are still looking forward to y'all participating. I seen Troy try to give us some picks. Apparently, your picks were all not so good. But we will see after this weekend. Y'all be safe this week. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Do something nice for all of those I've already mentioned. And do something nice for somebody you don't even know. Because, yes, it is a crazy world out there. Y'all be breezy.